Today we had a vote in the Senate Finance Committee. There's a big bill going down the pike. We need to stop this bill. This bill is not about health care. We got a government that's run amok. James Madison talked about the tyranny of the majority. There's also a tyranny of the minority. We have an aggressive political class that's desperate for a win with mixed priorities. We have a failing economy, and we need to focus on jobs, our troops, and our economy, yet we're all balled up on health care. Why health care and why now, and why are we here? We all have families. All of us would have something better to do, but we're all concerned if we don't act now, we're going to have a lot of problems down the road. So, I want to offer a few words from our founders to set the tone of this meeting. One, I predict future happiness for Americans if they can prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them. Thomas Jefferson. It will be of little avail to the people that the laws are made by men of their choice if the laws are so voluminous that they cannot be read or so incoherent that they cannot be understood. James Madison. Norman Thomas, 6 times candidate for president on the Socialist Party ticket, said the American people will never vote for socialism. But, he said, under the name of liberalism, American people will adopt every fragment of a socialist program. One of the traditional methods of imposing statism or socialism on the people has been by way of medicine. Most people are a little reluctant to oppose anything that suggests medical care, especially for possibly those who can't afford it. We at the Society believe that sovereignty over one's body is fundamental to our identity as Americans and our individual rights herein. For if we forfeit our personal, physical sovereignty, then on what basis do we claim our other rights? Property, gun, religion, speech, etc. For under the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what good is liberty and happiness without life? Life is fundamental to our existence, and I believe, must be honored with divine reverence. All that's necessary for evil to prevail is for good men to stand by. So we organize tonight's event to educate, support, and inspire us. It's not about health care. Stop the bill. So, to get our program underway, I'm delighted to have one of our own local and national media personalities. He's authored a number of articles in the Wall Street Journal and other publications. He's been a spokesman on moral, economic, and political issues, and I enjoy watching him every now as a contributor on the Kudlow Report on CNBC at 7 p.m. I TiVo it myself. So, without further ado, will you please welcome tonight's moderator, Jerry Bowyer. Jerry?
Thank you, Dr. Lessman. Thank you, board members of CEP, including my Havarim, John Agatston, who gave us the invocation. And thank you for coming this evening. You know, Hans quoted James Madison, and I was thinking about Madison as I was sitting there listening. Madison spent a lot of time thinking about you. He was very concerned about the future of the country when it was founded. I believe the quote that Hans gave us was from Federalist Chapter 10, where Madison described situations where there might be threats to our liberty. And Madison and the other founders basically set up what they called a compound republic, an idea where government had certain authority, but that authority was spread out within the governmental structure, a distribution of power, some with the states, some with localities, some with the federal government, and the power within the federal government was distributed. And within the electorate, power was distributed amongst what would later become known as political parties. At the time, Madison said that he referred to them as factions. George Washington hoped that there would be no factions. George Washington was such an optimist that he thought that there wouldn't be 2 parties or 3 parties. He thought we would just agree. Madison was a little less optimistic and believed that factions would arise in American politics, and they have. And so the system that was built for us was built to deal with the problem of faction. The fear was this: one faction joins with another faction, joins with a third faction, and together those factions create a majority. And then the majority runs over the rights of the minority. Property rights, maybe rights of free expression, maybe a religious majority would run over the rights of, say, the descendants of William Penn, Quakers, Pennsylvania Quakers, nonconformists. He wasn't quite sure what would be religious, cultural, political, economic, but there was a fear of the tyranny of the majority. And what Madison said is we need to counter the ambition, what John Agatston referred to as the state as God, rather than God as God and the state as servant. We need to counter the ambition of leaders with somebody else's ambition. And so factions would counter factions. And the system that Madison set up would make it very difficult for us to have tyranny. And we haven't had tyranny. We go back to 1789. Till then, we've had good moments and we've had bad moments. But we really haven't had tyranny. We really haven't had majorities running completely roughshod over the lives of minorities, systematically, without eventual redress. As I said, we've had our brushes with socialism, and we've had our brushes with racism. We've had our brushes with suppressing the free speech rights of people who disagreed with wars or policy directions. But we've been a free country because the system is designed to make it tough to make big things happen, like, for instance, nationalizing the healthcare system. The system is designed to make that sort of thing so hard that you need broad consensus. And the system is under stress right now. And that brings us back to you and James Madison. Because Madison believed that at times like this, where, as the president said, the stars align to make things possible that might not be possible at other times, at times like this, when factions gather together, we call them now special interest groups, Madison called them factions, and threaten to do things which are beyond constitutional limits or violate fundamental issues like the sovereignty or the stewardship over our own bodies or our property rights or our rights to free expression or our rights to privacy that we're going to hear about shortly. At times like this, these proposals are stopped by people like you. I don't know, I'm seeing maybe 40 people, 50 people. There are 2 million people in the western Pennsylvania region. Most people stayed home tonight. I might have if I hadn't been on the program, I have to admit. Maybe I would have come, but most people stay home. Some people don't stay home. Some people get involved. It doesn't take too many people because Madison set it up so that it's fairly easy to stop things. Things have to get through a House, a Senate, an executive branch. They have to get past the judicial branch. Which means, as John Adams said, policy is not made by majorities. Policy is made by cranky, and there was no one crankier than John Adams, cranky, cantankerous, irascible, restless minorities. The people who show up at meetings like this to get armed for battle with information and then show up at town hall meetings or tea parties or actually at the office of a legislator. That's how history's run. That's how good things happen, and that's how bad things are stopped from happening. So I congratulate you for being here this evening. James Madison would be proud of you, and I'm proud of you. But you need information. And we have information for you this evening.